Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World Warships for our Friday highlight. And I'm really excited to talk about this ship. So in the highlight today, we have the new Tier 10 Pan-American Battleship, the Libertad, something like that. I always want to say in my American accent, Libertad, but it's like Libertad, something like that. I'm just going to call it the Liberty because that's what it translates to. So otherwise I'm going to be butchering the name to my more Spanish speaking audience. So this video, I have a couple of quick highlights before we get into the main dish. But what I want to illustrate here to you is I didn't try it out on the Los Andes. And that is taking the rudder shift steering gears mod 1 in the 4th slot, which drops the rudder shift time down to negative 20%. So that effectively brings you to having a 10.8 second, 10.8 second rudder shift time, which is actually incredible. You outdo some cruisers when you compare yourself with other tier 10 ships. Without putting that mod on, you have the 4th best rudder among all tier 10 battleships. Putting this on makes you the 2nd best, just right behind the Thunder at 10.4 seconds. So there's 0.4 of a second difference. But this battle we're watching right now on the screen, this was my first video, or first battle in the ship. And I was just amazed at, between having an amazing rudder shift time and having, you know, the built-in propulsion, which you get on the Liberty. Watch this as I'm kind of navigating, I'm slowing down. I'm just juking these enemy battleship shells like I'm playing a cruiser, like maybe like a Salem or something like that. So, and it's kind of the Wisconsin's enemy Shikishima are really focusing me because I'm being spotted by the fighter planes. So it's actually quite annoying. But at the same time, like, you know, now I'm over 500,000 potential damage. Here's another Shikishima salvo coming in. We're going to take a little bit of overpin, just 2,000 damage there, and 700,000 potential damage. I'm sold out on the rudder shift, the steering gears mod 1. I totally recommend it. Now it's rather than running the damage con in that 4th slot. And then right after me eventually getting over here, 1.1 million potential damage later, I'm testing out the new main battery guns, being 6x2 419mm guns in this broadside main. I'm kiting out thinking I'm going to have to use the F key with my secondaries, line it up, I hit the F key, and derp. That was 9 of 12 shells. I'm getting the kill there. So I was like shocked. I was like, dang, this ship has some great things going on for it. Here's just another example of you seeing the 419s in action. But in this clip, I hadn't been able to really push in too much yet. I mean, you're kind of playing passive, so just not passive, but you're taking your time. You don't want to be super aggressive. I'm going to show you how being super aggressive can be really bad, but I made a really dumb decision. But I've had this Hildebrand player focusing me, so I'm using my rudder shift. I'm using propulsion. I'm going to turn out. And yeah, we've avoided that after getting the Colombo with our secondaries. I'm going to pop this shot off on the enemy destroyer. Ragnar, or no, sorry, not Ragnar, that's Gdansk. I think, if I'm seeing correctly on the screen. I'm like blind right now. And then also, we're still dropping some depth charges on the sub, and then there's going to be even more torpedoes coming in behind us here in just a moment. And so I'm like, oh, what's happening here? And I've already been angled away from potential danger. And, you know, here I'm just, okay, I need to accelerate, I need to get the stern out of the way, use the rudder shift time, easily mitigate in avoiding that damage. Now, when I'm testing out new ships, if there were probably some of you watching me, if you caught me in randoms and you saw me doing dumb things, it's because I was testing out different things with the ship. I mean, for me, I felt like, yes, it probably plays quite similar to the Los Andes, but I still want to see if I can get away with certain things. And here I make a bad decision, and that's, one is my fault, one is team error. So I was debating, do I just go over to the island where our cruiser sits? You know, everyone always does that. There's always torpedoes that come flying over there. Yeah, our Worcester, he's chasing down the Z-42 with the radar. So I'm like, well, I want to support the Worcester. Worcester's pushing in. I'm going to push in. But the enemy team, if you're looking on the mini-map, a lot of them are moving from the 6th line over to this flank. And I'm utilizing this island here as I push in to try to help mitigate taking any torpedoes, because there's also a Brisbane back there. But my teammates and the other battleships are just going to get sucked into just being back there behind the big island. And effectively, I'm going to be focused down. So this is a, it's easy to make videos about highlighting, oh, like Flimsy did this cool move or whatever. But I sort of just want to show you how you can suffer really fast under focus fire. I mean, we've got a Z-42, there's a Los Andes, I'm eating the secondaries, there's a CV flying around now, there's another cruiser, there's another battleship back on this 8 line that are beginning to focus fire me. And I'm like, crap, this isn't good. I should already have popped my heal by now. I'm kind of hanging on to it. There's no need to. I can go ahead and use it. I've got an F key ready. Now I've got the heal. Brisbane's setting up to try to get torpedoes off on me, but we're able to slow down and we avoid those 10 torpedoes. CV's trying to line a strike up on me. Brisbane's going to accelerate forward. He wants to get the racks off, I think, on the other side of his ship. So I'm going to start accelerating away, but that means I'm going to eat this torpedo. And meanwhile, I'm getting focused by all these enemy battleships and cruisers in the back. We get the rear turrets loaded. Brisbane gets caught on the island. I'm pretty sure I can use my 419 to overmatch. We get the kill, devastating strike. Meantime, we're eating Libertad. Secondaries, he fires a big AP salvo into us. Z-42 still chipping away at us with his AP. We have a double fire, and this really fast we go down. Now, to its credit, you have a lot more hit points. You have 85,500 hit points with the Liberty versus the only max 71,100 hit points with the Los Andes. So it is a little more forgiving, and there you can see all my teammates in the back. So I had some frustrating battles, and I was kind of like, at this point, I think I had lost like 3 or 4 battles in a row, and I was like really agitated, and I just wanted to get a win after having like a 3-win streak at the beginning, because then after that I started testing out, trying to be cheeky, but then mix of, enemy teams being really good, ours not being as good, and also on myself, like what you just saw in that previous clip. But this Gearing is saying, hey, I can smoke you up, and we can work together here. And I'm like, cool. And he's like, cool, just tell me, like, he ends up telling me, like, where do you want it? And I didn't communicate too many details. I should have said, like, can you drop it from A and over? But part of the problem is this is there's a submarine and there's 4 destroyers in this battle, in addition to a lot of carriers this last weekend when I had this battle. So I have to be really mindful of the destroyers. I mean, you don't have Hydro, but you have, a really good rudder shift when you take this steering gear slot in the slot 4. So I'll do an upgrade commander build video on this ship tomorrow, so you can see my full take on what I'm running. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the build in this video, just talking more about the gameplay. So over the Los Andes, to me, I think the 2 biggest things I think that stand out to me, I think, well, maybe 3. I'm pretty sure the Liberty is slightly bigger than the Los Andes. I think it feels a little wider. I don't remember. But the 2 primary things is the guns. When you go from 381s to 419s, that's a big difference. I mean, we're going to be able to penetrate a lot more with these armor-piercing shells. We also... I gotta pull this up right. We get a little more main battery range. That could be another thing we talk about. The reload time's the same, but with those 419s, we're doing a damage of 11,700 versus on the Los Andes with the 381s, 10,700. So we're doing more damage. Here we've easily avoided the torpedoes. I don't want the Nostra Shimi to get away, so I'm going to go ahead and step out and kill him. And we get the first blood, and I'm actually going to push up on the Fletcher and the submarine as well. So you get more effective main battery guns, and another big thing is just the hit points. I mean, you get over 14,000 more 100 hit points, which actually makes a huge difference. 71,100 was already really struggling with the Los Andes and not being among the highest of Tier 9 battleships. But then when we start talking about the Liberty, here. I'm gonna pull up her health. She has the 13th worst of all. I'm seeing 32 tier 10 battleships. So it's not as bad. And having that additional hit points mean you can be a bit cheeky and get away more with things than what you would not be able to do with the Los Andes. So with that being said, you know, Los Andes I think is it's a pretty good ship, but then the Libertad just really it really just adds that much more in going up to the tech tree line. So I think those are really the two biggest things that stand out here. So our aggressiveness has paid off for us here, and now the goal is we want to cap, and we also let our repair party come off cooldown because we can get a full heal off. So imagine me not having 14,000 less hit points right now, right? I would be down to we'd be on 37 and then like 33,000 hit points right now. So the additional 14,000 hit points is just like really nice to have here. And I'm going to try to be cheeky, I think. I don't know if I try to shoot a salvo in between these two islands because I'm just bored. But I shouldn't have. I should have just hung on to the salvo because they keep getting reset in the cap and stuff. So it's taking longer to cap here. So one of the things that really helps with the playstyle of this ship is that, you know, she's a brawler. She's close range, but also she plays good in the 12 to 15 kilometer, especially if you're talking about her concealment. When you've taken max conceal, it's well, conceal without conceal commander, which is what we have in this video, it's 14.4. But if you take a full conceal build, you get it down to under 13, 12.96 kilometers to be exact. So you can do the brisk build like I talked about with the Los Andes, kind of tied with that new Pan-American unique commander that's just come out. So that's actually really good. We do get a smacking there, but the Bilal finishes them off. And we've already wrapped up on this flank. So we're going to go ahead and move over. Now there's two things that I have. Well, there's one big thing you have to keep in mind, as I talked about with the Los Andes. I think, if I remember right, it's 32 millimeter bow and stern. I'm just saying off the top of my head. I'm not 100%. Might be wrong. But then throughout your deck, along the superstructure and your side armor, it's 51 millimeter. So you're it's an interesting situation where like Schlieffen has even stronger belt armor than what the Libertad does. So you have to be mindful of how you want to push in. So here's a Preußen with 457s. There's a Satsuma with 510s. Then there's a Shikishima back there, right? With 510s as well. And there's a CV back there. So I'm like, you know, I don't think I just want to step right out here into their cap and push them. Because ultimately I'm going to get focused down, and I'm looking at the mini map. You know, my team is kind of more behind islands, and I'd probably get focused quite quickly between the 3 enemy battleships. So I decided to do a little bit of a safer route here. The two options being I could have pushed into the cap, or I can do what I'm doing now, and I'm actually going to run alongside the back of this island. One thing is you can see the enemy GK. He's low. He's not been finished off yet. So I want to go ahead over here, help my team out as Kitakaze is dying. But I would like to go ahead and secure the kill on the GK, and it's going to prevent our cap from being flipped unless the enemy destroyer or whatever is on the backside. Yeah, he's in it still, and being able to flip it. So we get the kill on him. One of the other things, you know, when I was talking about the beginning of this video, when you have incoming salvos from, like, you know, you saw the Wisconsin Shikishima shooting. This is a completely different match than the very first clips. But you can fire a salvo off, and your rudder shift's so fast that you can just angle back in your armor, which is so incredibly powerful. You know, it's like you're trying to play a cruiser, you get your rear turrets off, and then you use your good rudder shift time to kind of avoid an incoming battleship salvo. But you're actually a battleship who can kind of, so to speak, take the punishment, and you have a lot more hit points in addition to the built-in propulsion. So it's just kind of really wicked, sick. I told one of my clanmates, like, I feel dirty. Like, I feel like I'm playing a cruiser but I'm actually in a battleship with 12 419mm guns and a pretty hefty secondary battery. And it just kind of leaves you confused, but it feels so good at the same time. So here we're just kind of taking our time, where we're getting some more shots in here on the enemy Shikishima. One of the things that really helps you in World Warships is if you can kind of isolate the one-on-one engagements, which is what we've elected to do, and kind of having more of this safe option here. I mean, we were pretty aggressive in the beginning at A, but now we're trying to be a little bit smarter here on paying attention, making sure they don't get lobbed by enemy Satsuma or something in the back there where he's shooting over the island. And the black ends up taking out the Shikishima here, and we're doing okay. Enemy team has definitely lost map control at this point, and you can see, like, the black's torpedoes are really slow, so it makes it easy to avoid them. So I was pretty like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's black torpedoes, but they're so slow, and with our rudder shift time, I feel emboldened that I can actually do all right, and just like step out and I'll be all right. So that's kind of the thing. When you're playing this ship, you can kind of be tempted to try to do certain things that, if you're not careful, you can end up getting absolutely punished for, because of how it's like, I'm a big battleship, I have all these hit points, but it feels like I'm playing a cruiser. So you just have to like make sure you exercise caution. As much as awesome as this ship feels to play, it's not invincible. That's probably like one of the big takeaways here. When I talked about the Los Andes, it's the same thing for the Libertad. So I think we're going to get a nice salvo here. I'm hoping it's a kill. I don't remember. Yeah, it's a kill. Double Citadel. Confederate. One of the things you want to keep in mind is... Ooh. Yeah. I'm sorry, Blacks. That's a double strike, close quarters, and Kraken Unleashed. I forgot that all happened at the same time. But what you want to keep in mind is selectively choosing your engagements. Like, what I said about Los Andes is that it's kind of a fighter that doesn't have a lot of stamina. You jump in, you fight, and then you jump out of the fight. You heal, you use your repair party, use your damage control party, let it cool down, and then you jump back into the fight. Where something like Preußen, GK, Ohio, some of those more classic brawling battleships, they can stay in the fight a lot longer. Schlieffen's the same way, in the sense that she can push in, she can fight, but then she kind of needs to lick her wounds, go dark, and then re-engage, which is why like Concealment Expert with a brisk build ends up working out quite really well on the Libertad. So I am really enjoying this ship. I think it's great. I think it's a phenomenal battleship. I'm sure we'll see a lot of these Pan-American battleships in randoms. It'd be fun to see if like maybe they see some King of the Sea action, or like clan battles. If this ship becomes kind of a little bit more of a stapleton. So that's over 210,000 damage with the Confederate double strike, close quarters, Dreadnought, Kraken Unleashed, and the First Blood with the 5 kills and the 2 Citadels, setting on fires. Same thing with Los Andes as was this ship. Your high explosive or your secondary armament, which I didn't get to talk a lot about in this video. It doesn't fire often, but when it does, you have a high hitting alpha compared to a lot of the other battleships, secondary battleships that can fire their secondary batteries, more regularly, reload them faster. We just have a larger alpha with the Libertad, and having both the 127mm guns and the 234mm guns. I mean, these are 234mm guns that hit for 3,850 damage, right? So it's quite crazy. 1.5 million potential damage, not a ton, but and I didn't even talk about the F key, man. I didn't even like get into that. I think because I feel like I spent so much time talking about it on the Los Andes that I didn't need to spend as much time. If you do follow along with me here, because the funny button definitely sets this ship apart in a different way, and how we're getting built this line centered around the funny button, essentially being the modified secondary munitions with the combat instructions. Yeah. So you're just getting a secondary battery firing range plus 20%, secondary battery reload time negative 20%, and secondary battery damage. I don't know if it's bugged. It reads differently than it did for the Los Andes, because I thought this was just referred to as the modified secondary munitions. It should do plus 25%, but maybe it actually does plus 30% is what I'm seeing here in the WoW shipbuilder. Maybe that's wrong. I can get into that tomorrow with the video, the upgrade commander build video, where I'll go in depth in talking about the ship armor, with playstyle, but upgrades, modules, commander, and what you might want to run with some alternative options there. So that being said, I hope you liked today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.